This is Greg Shapiro's United States of Europe. Using an American viewpoint to make the EU a little less boring. This week, special guest Dan Geddes, the man behind the Satirist.com blog. And now, your incredibly impressive host, Greg Shapiro. Hi, it's me, Greg Shapiro, the American Netherlander, giving the EU the respect they deserve by making fun of them just like anybody else. This week, we're joined by someone who can help me in that cause, a fellow American Amsterdammer, Dan Geddes, who's here. Hi.
Hi, how's it going, Greg?
Good. We should know each other already, honestly. But this is the first time we're really meeting.
It's true.
And I sent you a Facebook request. Did you get it?
I got it, and I thought about it, and I accepted it.
You did? Okay, good. You had to think about it, but, well, all right. More interviewing in just a moment, and lots of good stuff to talk about. But first, the headlines. Scotland voted nay! But it was close, wasn't it? Despite being warned by the British, the financial industry, and even one U.S. congressman who said, don't follow in the footsteps of Mel Gibson, still about half of Scotland replied, freedom! They were then heard going into a drunken tirade about the Jews owning the media, which made Mel Gibson proud. Now that Scotland's independence referendum has happened, England is holding a counter-referendum, letting British people vote. A, is Scotland trying to break up with us, or B, are we trying to break up with them? But in the end, UK Prime Minister David Cameron was correct in warning that an independent Scotland would have a hard time being independent, especially staying in the EU. Ironically, they'll have a harder time staying in the EU by staying with Great Britain, which is desperately trying to find a way out of the EU. In other news, the EU criticized Vladimir Putin for allowing the Crimea to have open elections, in which they voted to stay part of Russia. Russia replied by offering to invade Scotland, perhaps, and have them vote again if you didn't like the outcome. The continued presence of unmarked pro-Russian military in eastern Ukraine has created new international demands for all military aggressors to be clearly labeled. The U.S. endorsed these demands as it prepares to face the IS, the ISIS, the ISIL, or whatever term they choose to call it next week. Despite President Obama's directive that military action in Iraq and Syria will not involve combat troops, a Pentagon general at a separate press conference said that it may be necessary to put boots on the ground. In response, Obama traveled to MacDill Air Force Base, making a personal promise: no troops will see combat in Iraq, except on little video screens from their drone controllers, and even then, 2 out of 3 drones doing the shooting will fire blanks, so you'll never be really sure who's killing the civilians. EU Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker is facing increased criticism for his decision to merge the Climate Department into the Energy Department. Juncker insisted that his appointee to lead the new department will be fair and balanced, and named Miguel Arias Cañete, who is so unbiased that he owns shares in multiple oil companies. I think we can all relax now. François Hollande's former spouse, Ségolène Royal, has announced a plan to jumpstart the French economy by reinventing the energy sector with renewables. The plan proves the enormous potential of untapped energy sources, such as geothermal in Paris, solar, and the pure spite of talented older French politicians who get jilted by horndog presidents for backstabbing little sluts. Right. Well, it really is a surprising amount of energy Ségolène Royal has come up with, and hopefully someone can save the moribund French economy. But now it's time to turn to our guest for this week. And if you have heard of online parody, online satire, then here's a man to explain the difference. Dan Geddes. Hi.
Hi, Greg.
Hi. Well, let's see. We should get to know you, some of the basics. You've come up with this book, which you can't see really. There you go, The Satirist. So you've got a website since 1999.
That's right.
And it's called America's Most Critical. I mean, but is it America's really?
Well, it was when I started it in 1999.
Got
there
it.
was other blogs that were claiming to be the most this or the most that.
Yeah.
So I thought calling it the most critical journal gave it a unique edge.
Right.
Yeah, and also because it's not just satire, but a lot of serious literary criticism.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
thought it's critical in a serious way, but
Yeah.
also in a satirical way. So
And,
it really fits.
I guess I have to ask, how tired are you of being compared to The Onion? But for most people in their frame of reference, if people do know about theonion.com, then you should know about thesatirist.com as well.
Well, I agree. I mean, a big difference is in one review, they said it's a lot like The Onion, but it's more intellectual.
Yeah.
I do a lot of parodies of literary criticism or film criticism.
Yes.
And also because there's serious criticism as well of
Yeah.
philosophy or history books, it is just a bit more highbrow than The Onion, I would say.
Yeah,
and
indeed.
with longer pieces.
Well, I mean, and you're writing it. I mean, the Onion is a team of people, and a team that will change over the years. But I believe on your blog since '99, so you've had how many pieces? Over 200.
Yeah, there's about 280 on the site, and
Yes.
I wrote all but 40 of them.
Yes.
So there are 40 contributions from other writers.
Which is also interesting that you're sort of opening it out.
I didn't at first. You know, people just started sending me stuff. And, you know, at first I was like, well, I don't want to publish other people. I wanted to keep the site with my voice. But eventually I thought some of this is pretty good.
Yeah.
And some of these are established writers who've written for the New York Times or Rolling Stone, or they're professors in their own right. One guy was even a college president. I published his poem on The Satirist. So I was like, you know, this is a good way to get more publicity for the site. And some of this stuff is really funny.
Right.
So
Which helps.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like the fact that I've sort of evolved from a blog into a publisher in my own right.
Right. Wow, we'll talk more about that because you have your book now. But I'm just going to help for people who really don't know who you are yet. We're just going to do a get to know you session. It's called the 6 in 60.
Okay.
6 questions in 60 seconds. The first thing you think of is the right answer.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Yes. Any pets at home?
No, not currently. We used to have a fish and a hamster, but not anymore.
Okay. And any pets when you were growing up?
Yes, I had a cat.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Name?
Blackjack.
Blackjack?
And a dog, Rags.
Okay. It's funny how it all starts coming back.
Yeah.
What's the book you're reading right now?
Legacy of Ashes. It's a history of the CIA.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Great. Next up, you have kids. What are their names?
Andrew, 12, and Luke, 5.
Okay. Oh, nice. Good spread. All right.
Yeah.
One writer that you could emulate.
Henry Miller.
Okay.
Henry Miller, another expat, another American expat.
That is kind of true, isn't it?
Yeah.
And one writer you could eliminate.
Eliminate.
Sure.
James Joyce. Sorry.
And last question, what is your guilty pleasure when you go back to the U.S.?
My guilty pleasure. Casual dining, American-sized portions of pasta, that kind of thing.
Yes, and the ubiquitous doggy bag as well.
Yeah, it's not a success unless you take home a big box of food at the end.
To eat when you're drunk
Whenever,
later, or for lunch the next day.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, let's talk a little bit about just what it's like, being an American and living over here in Europe. Like, how did you get started? What brought you over to the Netherlands in the first place?
Well, I'm an IT developer by day, and I've always worked in publishing within IT.
Right.
And I was able to come over and help a small Dutch foundation put all of its material online.
Yeah.
And so I still do that. But I've worked for the same company for 13 years.
That's rather unique anywhere, actually. And so that's kind of cool that you actually ended up having to come here. They needed you on the premises because I can imagine you could have done that job perhaps from anywhere.
Well, sort of, but in this case, it's also about changing the internal workflows, and so I really had to be there, and a lot of it's gathering requirements and stuff like that.
And you brought a spouse as well, right?
I did, yes.
So for someone like me, I came for work, I met someone here, stayed for love, but you brought your, so what was that like, bringing over...
Well, it took a while, she thought it was only going to be for 2 years.
That's what most people think.
So, every year it's been like, okay, we're staying another year, We had a couple kids. And they consider themselves Dutch, so we consider ourselves Americans who have Dutch children, even though we're both American.
Right,
But she keeps wondering when we're going to go back. And, and day by day, it just hasn't happened yet.
Right. Let's see. I was going to talk about some of the other stuff that you're getting up to over here. You've done stand-up as well.
Yeah, I did stand-up recently. That's right.
And I believe that was mostly referencing one of these pieces that you wrote. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I wrote a piece last year called the 5 Stages of NSA Surveillance Grief. Because when the NSA revelations from Snowden were coming out, I think a lot of people had this moment of horror where they were like, oh my God. And they went through stages a lot like the 5 stages of death and dying. They went through a denial phase where they're like, there's no way the government's spying on me.
Right.
Or, anger. Where they couldn't believe that was happening, or bargaining that they would do things differently online.
Oh, well, we can, you know what, we might get into that a little bit as well, because it's very true what you are saying, that there's this growing awareness of online privacy, bargaining as well. Oh, I know they're not spying on me.
No, right. Or you think you'll be a little more careful, so you'll stay away from porn sites, maybe, or something like that.
Certain addresses. I actually I want to introduce something new to the show. I went on the street with a little camcorder and asked some people on the streets of Europe, specifically Amsterdam, what they thought about the current developments in online privacy. Are you ready? Let's take a look. Hi, we're coming to you live from the streets of Europe, specifically Amsterdam, to find out what people think about the latest news in online digital privacy. We all know that the European Union is taking steps to regulate digital snooping from, say, the US government and the NSA, but what about Google? What about Facebook? Let's find out. Specifically, I'm asking people the question, who knows better what you'll be doing exactly 1 month from today? The US government, Facebook, or Google? Who knows best 1 month from now exactly what you'll be doing? Is it the US government, the NSA, is it Facebook, or is it Google?
Facebook.
You think Facebook?
I think Facebook.
Okay.
Your question is, who knows more about me?
Yeah.
It's the Facebook.
You think Facebook?
I think Facebook.
Okay.
So, the American government, the NSA of Facebook, of Google.
I would say Google.
Google?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, with the cookies?
Okay.
Yeah, goed. Okay.
Facebook.
Yeah.
I think too, the Facebook knows the
Weten
most.
allemaal niks van mij.
Nee?
Nee.
To translate what that last guy said in Dutch, it was, they don't know anything about me. And he may well be right. So, indeed, well, most people, when asked, who knows the most about their online behavior, who's the best at snooping. Most people say Facebook. The one guy said Google, and I actually got one person off camera to say, NSA, the government, they're spying on us, man. But most people seem to agree, at least the way I phrased the question, Facebook. And you had some, statements about that as well. Certainly, you've spoken about it. It's just ironic, isn't it, that what were you saying about the KGB not long ago?
Oh, well, no, that Facebook is kind of funny because if you think about East Germany and the Secret Service that they had, the Stasi, they would work so hard to create dossiers about everybody.
Yes.
And now people are slaving away doing that themselves.
Right.
Here's all my known associates, my friends.
Yeah, sure. Oh, so now we're known associates.
Yeah, exactly.
As well.
We're known associates,
Yes.
no way to hide it. And here's pictures of who I'm intimate with and everything. So
Right.
Facebook is more personal.
And then the selfies people are putting up there as well.
Right.
Sure.
So this generation is going to need the right to be forgotten, maybe, because if you think about teenagers who are putting all this stuff up about themselves, and they're going to change and become career-minded at some point.
Or politicians.
Exactly,
Who knows?
and they're gonna want to forget. But it may happen or it may not happen. The right to be forgotten.
Well, it is apparently that's an EU mandate at this point, and we'll see how that really happens. I think they're working on not so much should it happen, but how to make it happen. Right?
Well, the devil's in the details,
Yeah.
So, and it could play out differently. But I think a lot about that Dave Eggers book, The Circle,
Yes.
And he talks a lot about the fact that everything is going to be transparent, at least in this fictional world.
Right.
And all your information is going to be in something like Google or Facebook, and people are going to get more acclimated to that over time.
And then the sort of corporate directives. I'm sorry, I have not read the book. I've read the review on thesatirist.com. And you also have a wonderful piece on Disney's production of 1984. You seem to keep coming back to this theme of, especially the circle, the corporate mentality that is sort of dictating, they might go through all of your posts on your Facebook page, it seems like you were flirting with some rather countercultural ideas there, or
Right.
That was the spookiest bit for me.
Yeah, I think Facebook and Google do different things, though. Facebook's more personal in a way, but Facebook, it's also very clear that you're sharing it with your friends.
Right.
Google can be creepy because so many people use Gmail.
Yeah.
And the fact that the contents of the email that you're writing are scanned.
Right.
And Google keeps that.
Yeah.
And they say they only use it to show you ads, but the fact is they have all this.
Yeah, and
that's more intrusive to me than Facebook, because that's my personal email.
And by the way, exactly. And there's just a piece that was in the newspaper, the New York Times, over the weekend about Yahoo, who, after the whole Snowden revelations, Yahoo tried to protect that information from the U.S. government, and there's a whole new bit of data that has come out from 2008, but we can get to that in just a moment. And just for a moment now, let's take a short break, and we'll let you know that Broadcast Amsterdam is the proud producers of this show, and they also do a number of other shows. Let's take a quick look. We'll be right back. It's me, Greg Shapiro, the American Netherlander.
Welcome to So Damn
Hi,
Local.
I'm Nate Titer, the host of the What's Up Amsterdam TV show.
Published well, 8 years later, it's out in book form. My name's
You mean we win wars and kick ass?
And we want to help you make it. I mean, that's why every Monday I'll be starting at 6 a.m. next to
Jewish person was Jewish
The neighbourhood market is on every third Sunday of the month, but this year there will be 4 weekend festivals organised, one every 2 months. Yeah, it's just like a really, you know what I mean by that? They're real kind of, what's coming next? Policy to it.
which managed to convince the council.
But yeah, sometimes it was verging on the cheesy.
It's quite a special project, but it's so beautiful.
He's on the same side, Jesse, motherfucker.
And we're all part of Broadcast Amsterdam.
Yes, good old Broadcast Amsterdam. Do find Broadcast Amsterdam on YouTube and subscribe if you want to see all these wonderful shows. And we're back talking to Dan Geddes from the Satirist.com and a fellow Amsterdam American. And yeah, we are having an engaging discussion about not just the EU commissioners and the new EU directives that might come out, but the specific everyday details of wait a minute, am I using Gmail? How much of my personal information is being scanned? And if so, and it's all metadata, fine. What are they doing with it? So do you have any insights as to, what's Google really doing with all of our info?
Gmail, as far as I understand, is not just scanning the metadata, but they have the text of it, and they can use that to personalize your ads. So if you write, you love gold in an email, maybe you'll start seeing gold ads from Google.
Isn't it just a little encouraging, though? I mean, sometimes I'll click on my spam folder, and then I'll notice an ad comes up for spam recipes. Then don't you get the feeling that, okay, they're not that sharp?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just computer algorithms. Yes. But I mean, the point is they're collecting the data, and over time they can refine the algorithms. Yeah. And it's just, what I want is that everybody's aware of what's happening, and then they can make an informed decision. How much should I share on Facebook? Right. What should I use Gmail for? Should I get a different email account that's not Google? You know what I mean? So the NSA is only sniffing metadata, but Google has everything you write.
They do indeed. And apparently, since these, it's funny that you came over here in 2001.
Yes.
So right before 9/11. But
that's right.
The entire, American infrastructure, intelligence infrastructure that came after 9/11 it ends up with this. It goes much further than we thought when Edward Snowden, revealed all these troves of information. But specifically, so Yahoo apparently tried to. Tried to stop the U.S. from getting access to all of their emails and people's searches and stuff. Apparently, Yahoo was threatened with fines of $250,000 a day if they would not share all that information with the NSA, the U.S. government. So anyway, is Google trying to protect all of our stuff, or are they just sharing it as well?
Well, Google has taken some measures to at least keep information from the NSA. They have resisted it, but at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, I think the NSA and the government can get what they want, also because they control the internet backbone. Yeah. But I think it's very important for these big data companies to protect privacy, or else, as we've seen with Germany kicking out Verizon and not using them anymore, these big American data companies are going to suffer in their worldwide commerce.
Interesting.
Russia will make their own internet backbone. The BRICS were talking about making their own internet backbone.
I'm sorry, did you say Brits or BRICS?
BRICS.
The BRIC countries.
The BRIC countries,
That's Brazil.
So Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa a bit, because they don't want to trust the American internet backbone anymore. Right. And why should they?
Why should they? Indeed. I mean, if you can set up your own, bunch of server farms that also use a lot of power. But, fair enough. I mean, here's another one that you mentioned, Verizon in Germany. And they really got kicked out. I mean, that was not just an EU regulation, but a German.
Well, the German government doesn't want to use Verizon. Right. So it's not that they're totally kicked out. Got it. But as far as the German government's concerned, they don't want to use Verizon's services.
And we've also seen now Axel Springer, I believe, an executive from Axel Springer, one of the German publishers, I guess we'll call them, media companies, who in an open letter to Eric Schmidt of Google said, "We're afraid. It's not a good environment," I believe it's in here. So, business-wise, I mean, are there going to be developments? Because the EU is not somewhere between, American internet and the BRIC countries that might start their own. The EU is trying to regulate, trying to set some guidelines, some rules. We were, fair warning, we might get wonky here. But I mean, some of the names to look out for, the commissioner of digital stuff in Europe was Nelly Kroes from the Netherlands, but now apparently she'll be replaced by Andrus Ansip from Estonia. That's the land of Skype. But I don't know, any opinions on the way things might change? already you've got fairness, competitiveness commissioners who are changing hands as well. The new woman is Verstager from Denmark, and they're talking about Facebook buying WhatsApp, for example. Again, should Facebook have even more access to what we're texting each other, what we're sending, photos of? Any predictions there?
Well, there's a few issues, I think. I mean, one is the fact that what these governments are willing to do in terms of trusting American data companies is one thing.
Yeah,
so you can see for their own
here.
security, they don't want to do it. And then if you look at consumer individual privacy regulations, I think there is going to be a huge demand for stricter regulations of what the big data companies can do as more and more people realize the long-term consequences of sharing so much of their personal information online.
Right.
So there'll be a groundswell.
Such as what? I mean, what? Because so many people still keep doing it. I mean, I'll be doing it next. Hey, here is me and Dan, and we run TV.
Well, me too. I mean, but the point is that you have to be careful about it, and not everybody is able to be careful about it if they're young, or if they're drunk, or if they have a religious conversion, or whatever. I mean, they're going to have a change of heart that's going to invalidate everything they used to post. And should they have the right to do that? It really, I think all freedoms have this tension. There's no absolute freedom. So my freedom to have privacy comes at the expense of your right to know things about other people, or media's rights to print information.
What about the fake stuff as well? I mean, because, we just mentioned this right beforehand, but I was looking, I was doing a Google search of myself, and I came up with a picture of me, but photoshopped with a big Jewish star that happened to be on this site called thejewishproblem.com. So, I mean, okay, well, I'd rather not look at that myself. I'd rather not have people see that myself. And yet, that goes into the category of the origin of the right to be forgotten. In Europe, I think it was the guy who was, it was like a name and shame campaign from some guy who was cheating a taxi. But it was not him. It was someone, but they got the wrong name. They got the wrong guy. So he has been going after Google. Can we please let this thing stop coming up when people are searching for my name? When it's a case of false, accusations, do we have any recourse, any advice?
Well, if it's false accusations, you can probably sue somebody for libel. But in the case, at least in America, you can. But I mean, in the case of the Jewish star thing on you, well, because you're a public personality, you sort of sacrifice some of your rights to privacy. And that's enshrined in U.S. constitutional law. So
in the U.S.
In the U.S. How that applies here, I'm not sure. But basically, it seems like a free speech thing. I don't know why they would attack you, though. But I mean,
well, they also got like a prominent Dutch politician, and I think I'll let him take on that battle. But I mean, let's just in the paper today, there's another piece here about Google and News Corp, and both of them are in this sort of public spat. Rupert Murdoch is saying that Google is using unfair advantages to get ads and online ads, so that I guess we're supposed to feel sorry for Rupert Murdoch now.
That's funny. No, but I mean, Google is sort of replacing News Corp in a way. I mean, not really, but Google's the new paradigm. So as big as News Corp is, you can imagine in 20 years, maybe they're just another giant that falls. Whereas Google is an octopus that's putting their tentacles into everything. You remember their plan to scan entire libraries, and they got into big fights with book publishers over that as well, because where does Google's ability to index everything end and their ability to retain copyright begin? Right.
I mean, and here we are both trying to sort of make this online footprint, and you talked about publishing. Right now you've got Hachette, the publishers, who are in their public battle with Amazon.com. But your book, this book, The Satirist, is on Amazon. How's your experience working with one of the big four, revolutionary companies, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Apple.
Yeah, Amazon, it's sort of a deal with the devil. I mean, they're so efficient, so the cost of producing books with them on printing on demand is so low that it's very tempting to use it.
Yeah.
But indeed, when you see the fact that it's wiped out so many independent bookstores, and now Amazon is really trying to become a full-fledged publisher in their own right, attracting top-flight editorial talent from big publishers, trying to even recruit name authors to work with them because they want a vertical monopoly, right? Where they can control the entire published process.
And the Washington Post, by the way.
Washington Post, you know, so it really is amazing how much control they have. Newspapers themselves seem to be more like a dying breed in a way, you know, and you could see the big media companies taking over. Well, they've taken over so much already.
And yet here we are in our own small way, you know, I don't know. Are we... I think we're actually running out of time. Well, let's just talk about your book one more time, thesatirist.com. This is volume 1.
Yes.
There will be volume 2 as well.
Yes.
You know, you're really busy updating the site as well. It's getting a lot of press, I know, or a lot of views.
Yes.
But do you worry? Do you worry? Do you try to get more promo? Do you try to get it out there more?
Well, there's always more you can do. I can do things like buy Google ads, which I've once done.
There you go. Okay.
Well, it actually helps.
Facebook
Google
ads,
ranks you higher if you do that,
don't they?
Yeah, and I don't know, but I get. I do what I can, you know, but I'm just happy to produce what I think to be good work. And that's what's the most important to me.
Well, thank you for joining us. And just one last little note. You can find online Dan Geddes at thesatirist.com. Bada boom. And thanks for watching. Subscribe to Broadcast Amsterdam on YouTube. Subscribe to me, Greg Shapiro, on YouTube. And if you're looking for me on Facebook, Greg Shapiro, comedian. I'm a slave to Google and Facebook as well. Anyway, thanks for joining us, Dan Geddes.
It was my pleasure, Greg.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks very much.
Okay.